All right. Well, this is very exciting. As the entire wrestling world knows, just 7 days ago, January 7th, a massive piece of news was broken on SmackDown. It came out of nowhere. No one saw this coming, and that is very rare in the wrestling world. We found out that the Impact Knockouts champion, the one and only Mickie James, who is joining me here this afternoon, is going to be a part of the Royal Rumble on January 29th in St. Louis, the Women's Royal Rumble. And the forbidden door, as has been referenced, has been opened between Impact and WWE. This stuff doesn't happen often, if ever, in the world of professional wrestling. It's a huge deal. She is a legend. She's one of the greatest of all time when it comes to women's wrestling. And like I said, she's the reigning defending Impact Knockouts champion. And she's kind enough to join us here today to talk about this monumental piece of news in the world of pro wrestling. Mickie, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me on. This is awesome. Really.
Okay, so everyone's wondering, there's a ton of questions about how this all happened. So could you tell us the first time this, opportunity reached you? When were you first approached about being a part of the Royal Rumble?
It was a few weeks ago, and Scott had called me first, and
Scott Demore.
Scott Demore called me. So, yeah, just to kind of see where I was at and if I was interested, and um, I think immediately I was excited because I think about this has never happened before, like to for WWE to do this or to have anyone participate in the Rumble, especially to acknowledge the championship. Um, it's really it's cool, and it just shows a different I don't know, amount of respect, and I feel really great about it. Plus, I think in my mind, the last thing most people bring up or talk about was on the other end of the spectrum with, and so it's just cool not to have that be the thing or the last thing or whatever that is. So it's just I'm so excited, honestly.
And I want to get to that story that you're referencing to in a moment. But to the best of your knowledge, did they reach out to Scott or did he reach out to them to pitch them? How
I
did that go?
feel like Johnny reached out to Scott to first just talk to him as professionally, because it is companies. This has never really has been done before by them. So definitely they talked first to see if this was going to be something that because they've worked together. Impact worked together with WWE in the past for other things, for when Flair went in the Hall of Fame and Christian Cage and all that stuff. So it wasn't unforeseen that it could possibly happen, but yeah. So I think that's why Scott first reached out to me to see what my interest was, and then obviously we were all able to make this happen somehow. And I think it was going to be a surprise. We had talked about having it as a surprise, but the announcement, the response back from the announcement kind of has blown my mind. I think it's pretty incredible. It's different, and it's kind of historic. And then to be the person to do what they've done it with, it's really freaking cool.
Surprises in the Rumble are great. Obviously, like we look forward to them every year, but I think the way in which it was done was a lot more, dare I say, pardon the pun, impactful. When Scott called you and told you about this phone call from John Laurinaitis of WWE, what was your immediate reaction?
I was shocked. I think I was very shocked because I know it's not really ever been done, especially for the women. And so, um, and I think all things considered, but I also feel like everyone from that camp has honestly, we've talked and there's been apologies and all the things. And so, um, I still have maintained a good relationship with everyone in that sense. And professionally, I just think, it's just something to be able to do and hopefully open the door for future possibilities of that as well. So yeah, I think my knee-jerk reaction was like I was kind of shocked, because this is not unheard of. And especially for me, I was like, oh, really? Okay. Um, and so yeah, but I don't know. I it's weird, right? It's a weird place to be sitting.
It is. And to the best of your knowledge, is this just a one-off, or is there a possibility to do more? As you are still a member of Impact,
I am, and the Knockouts World Champion.
absolutely. And that's interesting the way that was phrased on television. We shall get to that as well. But is this for now just a one night only thing?
Well, I hope I win.
Of course,
So
yes.
if I win, then obviously it can't be, you know.
Okay. Yes. You're kayfabing me. I like it.
I'm not.
You gotta respect the business. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Keep us guessing. So when it was announced last Friday on SmackDown, did you know it was going to happen?
Not
That
until
night?
Friday. No, I
Okay.
think because I was headed to Impact because we obviously had the championship on the line. It was going to be the main event, and that was already a thing. So I was actually driving around looking for a guitar um, when it aired on SmackDown in Dallas. So I don't know. I think, uh, like we said, we were talked about it being a surprise, like more of like just one of the surprise entrants. But then I think Johnny really and the camp really wanted to kind of get it out there because they were doing that big announcement and the reveal that night, and they wanted to put it as part of that. And you know, it worked out because I was a little bit apprehensive because I didn't really want it to. I knew Deanna and I were going to be the main event going into Hard to Kill. And I know that Impact hadn't really announced it because it was more, I think internally it was one of those conversations of a lot of places that we always do that. Oh, look at this thing we're doing. It's really great. And so it was almost more powerful that it was just going to be the main event that night because it
Hmm.
deserved to be the main event that night, you know? Um, so that was my only immediate reservation. I was like, oh, I don't want it to step on anything, going into Deanna's and stuff because it was so good and we had worked on it so hard going in there. But it actually worked out better, because I think a lot of people thought I was going to lose that night and and so more people were really honestly thought that I wasn't going to keep the championship because, you know, I was going into the Rumble.
Right.
Right.
Now, you said that you were surprised somewhat by the reaction. Why did this surprise you? I mean, I feel because it's so historic, this was going to explode.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess because I think that I feel like the WCW championship has showed up and different things, but at that time, I guess the company had the rights or they had, those championships in house at that point. Um, so I thought it was important that because that's what I was at, and I knew I was coming out of Hard to Kill, or by the time, so I thought it was important to say the Impact Knockouts Championship in there, and I was so grateful that they did. But I didn't think it was going to get the reaction that it did, because you just never know.
Hmm.
You just never know how things are going to go, and so you always hope for those things. I always like walk around with my fingers crossed, but you just never know. They could.
And when you heard them refer to you as the Impact Knockouts World Champion, which is, again, very rare for them to acknowledge any promotion. They never do that. How did
Right.
that make you feel?
Amazing. Because I just think it shows like a level of respect and it just and an amazing amount of gratitude because I think after all this, like that's something that's never done and it's never been done before in that sense. And so I don't know. I just think it was a cool move on their part. And I think it's cool to be able to represent Impact and open this door or bust out the ceiling, as I like to say, or we all like to say, but like it's a cool set of shoes to be standing in right now. Because if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have been like, oh my God, what is happening with my life right now?
Mhm.
So it's amazing what can happen in a year, honestly.
When you walk out on the 29th, will you be able to have your belt with you?
I hope so. I mean, I intend on it, kind of goes with me everywhere.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you will be acknowledged as the Impact. I think that's significant as well. You'll be able to come out to your own music that you have now, which you sing, right? It's yours.
It
You're
is hardcore country. Yeah.
Yes. So this
So
is all part of it. I think that's important. That's part of your identity now. You're not going to be the
it is my
WWE version
identity
of
right
Mickie
now,
James.
I think, and that's important because it's like I've had stepped away from and I've gone back to this hardcore country character, and it's someone who I was never able to do or for whatever reason. I think she had moments in there, but it was never hardcore country Mickie James in that sense. Um, so it's cool to be able to bring that to WWE, and
Hmm.
that's who I am now. And I am the champion there. And I think, you see it in MMA all the time, crossovers and brands being represented and champions versus champions and all of these things. So, if this could happen, then, the possibilities are really endless.
Anyone from WWE reach out to you since this became a done deal? Have you talked to
Oh
anyone?
yeah, for sure. I think people's minds are blown because the people that knew kind of knew. Um, and obviously internally over here, Nick knew, we all knew in my family, my mom, my dad. Um, but yeah, I was just I was curious to see how the people were going to react, and it got like kind of mixed because people were obviously still kind of wondering like, well, how could she do that just because of the last situation,
Hmm.
So there was a smaller amount obviously of that, um, but there was so much, and it was the whole, trending and the kind of the thing. And I think, for the women's rumble, it's a big deal to be in the women's rumble. And um, yeah, I've been a part of all of them in some capacity. So I think it's cool to be able to come back and still be a part of it, in a whole different way.
So I think what makes this such a big story and why it caught so many people by surprise is because of the impact component, the fact that you're coming over and you're their champion, but also because of what you have referenced, which is the way your last chapter with WWE ended. And so I'd like to ask you about that. Back in April of last year, you were a part of, one of unfortunately several kind of mass releases as of late. And I think people were upset about that in its own right. But then when you revealed how your belongings were sent to you, which was essentially in a trash bag, that became an even bigger story. And so,
Yeah.
can I just go back to that? Like when you got that bag in the mail,
Hmm.
what was your reaction?
Um, so it was a weird day anyway. I was walking out the door to go do a photo shoot for my music single I had coming out. So I was literally when one of the boxes, I actually got two boxes, but when one of the boxes had arrived, so I just kind of brought it in. I was like, oh, this is my stuff. Can I use any of this for my shoot, like a jacket? Because my jackets, these are all in the drawers and stuff. So my jackets and a bunch. I was like, I wonder if there's anything in there. So then I open it and it's in the trash and I see it and I'm just like, of course, whatever. Um, I wasn't personally, I wasn't as offended as the rest of the world was offended, just because I feel like it does suck and it is very um the symbology of it all. Even when you think about like professionally or however you feel personally about how you've been professionally booked or any of those things, all those things aside, like that bit alone is kind of like, well, you're already on a low because you've just been let go. And for me, this was the second time I got back. And so it was a little different than the first time, like the first time. And the stuff came the same way, and the logic behind it is, oh well, if it gets left out on the stoop and it gets wet, at least it's protected in the bag if the box gets wet, whatever the case may be, right? So I think that, I mean, I was offended, but not on the level that I guess you get. This business is tough, like it's show business, all of these things. So you can get offended on a daily basis if you want to, and the reality of things. So it's just like, it irritated me, but I was just like, "Ugh, whatever." I posted it as a sarcastic, my sense of humor is sarcastic, like, oh, it's pretty on par, guys. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
You know, um, and then left and went and did the shoot or whatever. And then I
And it
looked
explodes.
down, and my phone is blown up and I've missed all these calls and important calls from Hunter to Johnny to Stephanie to Vince. So, and I called Vince back that day and he, personally apologized to me. We had a whole conversation. So there was a lot of it, but I think that's why I kind of stood back, because I was getting a lot of interview requests and they all wanted to talk about that thing. And in my heart, I go like, well, I don't think it was a personal attack in the sense of like, I think you're trash or we think you're trash. I don't think that. But I also think that, as a corporation, you need to be cognizant of the fact of the message that you're sending,
Hmm.
to your talent because it's already devastating. And a younger me, I was devastated. And that part cut like a knife. This time it didn't cut like a knife because I was just like, okay, whatever, I got stuff to do kind of thing. You have to keep it moving. But it just, yeah, yeah.
And then it comes out that this is kind of
Man.
something that's happened a lot to other people.
Yeah, I got my stuff like that 10 years ago. I don't think it was just not it was just like one of those things that it was like it was just thoughtless. That was just it, right? Like,
Hmm.
and I think that I obviously wasn't the only girl. Like there was a lot of people that spoke up. I was like, oh, I got my stuff the same way. Yeah,
Have
because
they stopped doing that?
of course,
Okay.
of course, no one will ever get their stuff in a trash bag again.
Well,
If
then
one
it's
of
good that you spoke up
the
about it.
yeah, yeah.
Were you worried that that was going to be like your defining legacy with WWE?
Well, that was a whole I was like, I feel like I've worked too hard and for too long, and my whole thing is like, I wanna make a difference, and that was such a, it was a positive thing came out of it, but it was such a negative thing, and it just sucked, and it sucked to be like, I know a lot of the girl like, um, kind of sympathized with so many other younger talent because that first time when it arrived like that, I was devastated, and I just lost my dream job, and this was everything that I worked towards my whole life, and it still is in that capacity, but you start to look at it differently because 'cause I'm on a different, path now because I've been doing it for so long. Um, but then I was so completely crushed, and it was like just a huge, even bigger ego blow when you're already low, right? So, uh, yeah. And then I just knew that if I was kind of irritated about it, then I can assure, like I'm thinking about the list of people who've gotten released with me, and it was all the girls. Mostly all the girls get their stuff because that's the only people who have those drawers. The girls have extra stuff. We have extra jackets and
Hmm.
gear, you know, so much stuff. And it's cool that we have those road cases to be able to put our stuff in to carry it because costume changes and all of those things. Um, so that's why we're even getting our stuff back in the first place.
I'm assuming when you got the news that you were being released last April, you weren't expecting it, right? It took you by surprise.
Uh yes and no. I think yes and no because I'm never shocked by anything. I feel like we're all kind of dispensable in that nobody's untouchable in that realm. Um, no, I think that I was also in a different place because I was somewhere between um, agenting, commentary, coming back from my ACL injury, and I could just kind of feel there really wasn't enough. You have that we have that nothing for you kind of thing. There really wasn't enough on television for them to justify keeping me around if I wasn't completely just going to do an agent behind the scene kind of role. Like I just felt like that was kind of where I was coming out of like that WrestleMania. Um, and so I kind of, I felt kind of like not the writing on the wall, but like I need to kind of make a decision on what's going to be my next step. Either I'm going to have to make a decision or it's just going to have to be made for me. And I just kind of prayed about it. And I was like, all right, help me make it for me kind of thing. And it was ironic because that's this around then Johnny called me, not like the next day about, yeah.
And so when that happens, and I know you've been through it before, do you resent the business? Do you resent the company? Like, do you stop watching? How do you feel
Um,
about it? Because, that's a hard thing and maybe you don't want to support anymore. And I know you have friends over there, but how did you react?
I think anyone's heartbroken because you're the locker room is your family. Those are your friends, those are your family, those people you've been traveling with for the last X amount of years. Um, and there's obviously some of those relationships that even from that separation or alone are going to get cut off. So you just kind of, and I think watching the product immediately is always kind of, I'll watch it now, but I wasn't watching it for a couple of months. I want to support my friends. I love my friends, so I want them to do well. So and I want to keep up on what they're doing and stuff. So it's I don't resent it now. No. I think that you have to you I don't even know that I've ever resented it. I think it's more of a heartbreak kind of.
Hmm.
It's more than one of those heartbreaks. So it's just like a healing moment on how and however you deal with that. And I always try to use it as like a catapult. Okay, like, well, what can I do then to level up? Just because this person didn't see your value or didn't see that doesn't mean that someone doesn't or that you can't do something, of value. So, um, yeah.
I ask you this as someone who's been through it, but also as a veteran now and one of the all-time best. How do you feel about what is going on lately with all these releases? It's somewhat head scratching, right?
Um,
How does it sit with you?
it is head scratching, but then they've had an immense amount of hirings, I think, through the years. So the company had expanded when it's gone on the road because it had like almost like a whole division of just NXT and WWE. And then obviously the pandemic has, I think, crushed everyone, especially live events and touring and all of those things. And I don't know. It's just a whole it sucks. It sucks for my friends. It sucks for my friends to not have a place to work and now that there's, seems to be competition, like now they have somewhere to go, but then Ring of Honor is kind of shut down behind it. So it's just like all of these things, but um I don't know. I feel like the business is ever evolving and it always goes through highs and lows. It goes through those things, and it kind of sucks. And it sucks to be on one side of it. And I just hope that everybody uses it as like just a repositioning, and like to just kind of um, grow and do something different, or like add it to whatever that is. Cause it's crazy, it's just crazy out there. And I think it's cool that there's more, it seems to be more places to go now. Um, it's just it's just different. The business has just changed so much, I think, and I don't know what it's going to keep looking like, especially with touring in the next 5 years, if it doesn't, turn around somehow.
Obviously, you have a history with Impact, multiple time Knockouts champion, so it was kind of like going home, so to speak. But I'm wondering, was there any interest from AEW? Did you have interest in going there?
I think you know, I don't know. I never was like technically reached out by AEW, but I think they all knew that I was going to work with my husband at NWA, and I really wanted to do this women's show. Like that was really important to me. Um, yeah, I think there's obviously matches and girls I wanted to work with, and I would have entertained it or talked about it. But I think my history with Impact too, and I felt like even with Empower, I was able to kind of bridge some of those gaps and make relationships happen and open up kind of those conversations and doors. And uh, I didn't know if I wanted to sign anything long term, like locked in for like a multi-year or anything like that either. I've just kind of, I think because I've been doing it for so long, and I just don't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to do the girls show, and then I would think about wrestling after that. And that's why I still don't take, like, I only wrestle for Impact and NWA and now WWE. I don't, that's it, because I'm like, I really have so many things I'm working on now between our supplement company and momming as much as I can full time all the time when I am home, and my horses and stuff. And I just want to be able to focus that time on him and those things, and then those little projects, and then just wrestle, for the championship and
I
stuff
th-
like that. Yeah.
I hope that you represent perhaps a direction in which this business is going, where you can, work for Impact, you can work for NWA, you can have your own projects as well.
Right.
We've seen it with Christian going from AEW to Impact. It would be nice if it's no longer a forbidden door and it's just a bunch
Right.
of doors, and that the talent have these options. If you're not being used here, you can maybe go here and do that sort of thing. Do you think this will remain like these crazy one-offs that we all lose our mind off of, or do you think that this could be a thing?
I think, well, I don't know. I mean, you can never say. I think the possibility of more one-offs are definitely that can conversation could probably happen. Whether it's a I think back when like business was more territories, like that would happen all the time.
True. Yep.
People
Yep.
would float, like they would start to kind of lull out over here, and they'd go over there and have like a year or 2 years in that territory, and then kind of float around. So I feel like it does give a lot of power back to the performer. And technically we are independent contractors, and that should be a conversation. But obviously, as a corporation, when you're employing someone, that's, it's just it's odd how that's always, and it's always been the case. And so I don't know. I think that at least for me, I'm grateful that I can say that I'm an independent contractor, and that I do have that, and I have such an amazing relationship with every company that I work with, that we get to do really cool things together, and so yeah, that's fun. And it's cool, and it's cool to be in that position for me.
Is the dream for you? I've heard you say that Charlotte Flair is like one of the last people that you haven't had a chance to work with. Is the dream you win on the 29th, you win the Rumble on the 29th, you wrestle her at WrestleMania? Would that be it? Like, if you can, script the perfect scenario here, would that be it?
My It does sound pretty perfect,
It
right?
would be pretty damn great. Yeah.
Yeah, Cinderella stories don't happen in wrestling.
I know. And especially with the way, I mean, could you imagine someone telling you last April that this would be happening in January? I
Well,
bet.
absolutely not. I told you you're insane.
You,
Appearance.
I would imagine you probably thought you would never step, after it became such a big deal that you'd never step foot in a WWE ring again.
No, I didn't think that. I feel like I always thought, like, I guess the first time I'd gotten to a point where, oh, this is just not going to happen. Like, I'm never going to go back. Like, I just don't. And then it happened. So now I'm like, you can't ever say that, because
Okay.
it could always, everything's a possibility. You just never know. Um, I don't know. It's not like I'm going to wrestle forever either, though. You know, not that I'm like planning a retirement tour or anything like that, but I'm also, well, you know, life is crazy.
Sure. Yeah. You're a mom. You have a family and
Yeah,
whatnot.
I do a lot, and so I've been really cool. It's cool to come back and have like this title run. It's my 10th title run, and do something really cool. And I think it was cool because even after I left WWE, I could step up and do something completely different again. And yeah,
Well,
crazy work.
it's a great story, and longtime fans, I think, are very happy for you. You've been doing this now, what, 2 decades? Um, it's an incredible run from the stalker way back in the day of
Oh,
Trish Stratus all the way to now, and everyone going crazy over this news. I think a testament to you and your fan base that people reacted the way in which they did. I think more people are excited about this. This part of the Rumble than the Lashley Lesnar match, which is a dream match in its own right. So,
yeah. Well, and there's still so many like surprises and announcements, and
oh, do you want to tell us some of them?
no, I don't know
Okay,
any of
perfect.
them. Do you want to tell me some of them so I can
I
prepare?
got nothing. I got nothing. It,
Sorry.
but I
I
think it will be great.
I've been
And I
trying to
love,
scoop.
yeah, no, I got no scoop. You probably know way more than me, but I love that you're coming out to your own music. So I want to wish you the best with your
Oh,
music career, hardcore country. You're also, like we said, doing great things with NWA. Also, grown ass. What is it? Tell
someone
it to
asked
me.
woman.
Grown ass women. Yes.
You.
Look at.
Yes.
Come on, I do my research, Mickey. Come
Yeah, I
on.
appreciate that. No.
And
Uh,
that's like an all women's organization, correct?
Grown ass woman. Well, no. Well, there's so many. Grown ass woman was my single with Chapel Heart,
Okay.
and they are CMT's Next Women of Country. They're incredible. They're this group out of Mississippi. So,
Okay. Wow.
and it was also the theme song to Empower. That was the all girls show that I put on. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and if you want to see more of Mickey, let me tell everyone that you are part of Impact Wrestling, which airs every Thursday on Access TV. And also, they've got a great thing going on YouTube, Impact Wrestling Insider membership on the Impact YouTube Wrestling channel. So they've got some great things there for subscribers that people can check out. Of course, you'll be a part of Royal Rumble on January 29th in St. Louis. I'll be there. So perhaps I'll see you
God,
after you
yes.
win.
Yeah.
We
You
could
will
do.
see me win.
Yes, I look forward to that, and I appreciate you doing with us this with us. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure everyone was hitting you up in the past week to speak about this. So it means a lot for you to give us this big exclusive, and I want to wish you the best as you prepare for the Rumble, and the very best on January 29th.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Ariel Helwani Show. If you want to check out some of our old episodes, or if you want to stay up to date with all the great things that we are doing here, please do like and subscribe to this here page. Trust me, some really cool things are coming up.